My name is Giannis Antetokounmpo.
What kind of basketball player are you?
Uh,
He was too skinny, too raw, too unknown. A 6 feet 9 inches teen from Greece, drafted 15th overall by the Milwaukee Bucks, with spaghetti arms, no muscle, and no real jump shot. Even NBA scouts weren't sure if he was a small forward or a science project. But fast forward a decade later, and that same skinny kid would drop 50 points in the NBA Finals, win back-to-back MVPs, become a Defensive Player of the Year, and drag an entire franchise to the promised land. This isn't just a story about talent. It's about obsession, hunger, and the will to become great. This is the rise of Giannis Antetokounmpo, from the streets of Athens to NBA immortality. Before he was called the Greek Freak, before the MVPs, and before the Finals glory, Giannis Antetokounmpo was just a skinny teenager selling sunglasses on the streets of Athens to help his family survive. Born on December 6, 1994, in Athens, Greece, Giannis was the son of Nigerian immigrants who had fled political and economic instability in search of a better life. But even in Greece, life was far from easy. His family struggled with poverty, living in a cramped apartment and frequently facing the threat of deportation due to their undocumented status. There were nights where the Antetokounmpo brothers shared a pair of basketball shoes, taking turns during games because they only had one pair between them. Giannis, along with his brothers, sold watches, CDs, and trinkets on the streets just to afford food. His dreams of playing professional basketball weren't built on privilege. They were built on necessity. Despite these challenges, Giannis found an escape in the game. He began playing organized basketball at age 13 for a local Greek club, Philathletikos, in the second division. He was tall, raw, and incredibly underweight, but his length, speed, and coordination were impossible to ignore. Coaches said he ran the court like a guard, even though he had the wingspan of a center. By the time he was 17, NBA scouts started whispering, who was this kid averaging 9 points in a second-tier Greek league, yet moving like a future all-star? The Milwaukee Bucks sent their then GM, John Hammond, on a quiet scouting trip. What he saw wasn't a highlight reel machine. It wasn't a kid dominating games. It was something better, potential, raw, untouched, limitless. And with the 15th pick in the 2013 NBA draft, the Bucks took a chance. They selected Giannis Antetokounmpo, a kid who had never played Division I basketball, didn't speak fluent English, and had only recently gotten a passport. At the time, most fans, and even some analysts, laughed. This was a reach, a gamble, a project pick. One ESPN analyst even called it a development stash. But what they didn't know was that they had just drafted a future generational force. When Giannis arrived in the US, he was just 18 years old. He was 6 feet 9 inches and barely 190 pounds, tall, lanky, and awkward. He looked more like a cross-country runner than a power forward. Most rookies came in with swagger. Giannis came in with humility. He didn't have a car. He didn't know how to drive. He didn't know how to order food. He didn't even know how to tip at a restaurant. But what he did know was how to work. And that, more than talent, would become his superpower. This was the beginning of one of the most unlikely NBA journeys ever. A kid from poverty, drafted out of obscurity, about to change the future of an entire franchise. When Giannis Antetokounmpo first entered the NBA, he looked completely out of place. He was 6 feet 9 inches, barely 190 pounds, with arms like spaghetti noodles and shoulders that looked like they'd collapse under NBA-level contact. He wasn't just inexperienced. He looked like someone who'd get bullied off the court by grown men every night. And for a while, he did. In his rookie season, Giannis averaged just 6.8 points, 4.4 rebounds, and shot under 42% from the field. He was raw. His shooting form was awkward. His dribbling was shaky. And when matched up against stars like LeBron James, LaMarcus Aldridge, or Kevin Durant, he looked like a deer in headlights. But there was something you couldn't measure in a stat sheet. Giannis was obsessed with getting better. Between the end of his rookie season and the start of his third year, Giannis completely reinvented his body. He hired a nutritionist, started training 2 to 3 times per day in the offseason, focused on explosive lifts, core strength, flexibility, and functional movement. By the time he hit his physical prime, he had gained over 50 pounds of muscle, transforming from a lanky wing into a 6 feet 11 inches, 242-pound monster with a 7 feet 3 inches wingspan and unreal agility. In just a few seasons, he went from being too skinny to drive to the basket to bulldozing through elite defenders like they weren't even there. His nickname, the Greek Freak, became less of a label and more of a warning. But it wasn't just physical. Giannis's mental game evolved too. He watched film relentlessly. He studied the best: Kobe, Shaq, LeBron, KG, Hakeem. He improved his passing, his court vision, his footwork, and, most importantly, his decision-making. What was once a wild, raw athlete became a disciplined, unstoppable two-way machine. He began initiating the offense as a point forward. He'd grab a rebound, take 3 dribbles, and dunk on your center. His Eurostep became a nightmare in transition, covering 15 feet in a single motion. And defensively, Giannis became a Swiss Army knife, capable of guarding every position on the floor. In just 4 years, Giannis went from 6.8 points per game to 22.9 points per game, 4.4 rebounds per game to 8.8 rebounds per game, rookie role player to NBA All-Star starter. And by the 2018 to 2019 season, the evolution was complete. He averaged 27.7 points, 12.5 rebounds, 5.9 assists, 1.5 blocks, and led Milwaukee to 60 wins. He was no longer the kid with upside. He was the most dominant player in the league. He's a combination of Shaq's power, Scottie Pippen's defense, and Magic Johnson's vision. Multiple NBA scouts, 2019, and the NBA, for the first time, had no answer for him. By 2021, Giannis Antetokounmpo had already racked up individual accolades: 2 MVP, Defensive Player of the Year, 5 times All-Star, multiple All-NBA first-team honors. But there was still one thing missing: a championship. And to many fans and analysts, that was the only thing keeping Giannis from being mentioned in the same breath as LeBron, KD, Steph, or Kawhi. Critics said he couldn't close games, that he couldn't hit jumpers, that his free throws were a liability, and most brutally, that he didn't have the skill to lead a team to a title in the modern NBA. Then came the 2021 NBA playoffs, and Giannis responded not with words, but with one of the most dominant postseason performances of the decade. The playoffs didn't begin easy. In round 2, against the Brooklyn Nets, the Bucks fell behind 2-0, and it looked like the Giannis era was about to collapse under pressure. He was going head-to-head with Kevin Durant, who looked unstoppable. The media was circling. The "Can Giannis win as the #1 guy?" Questions were everywhere. But Giannis battled back. In Game 7 in Brooklyn, he put up 40 points and 13 rebounds, going blow for blow with KD in overtime, and survived one of the most clutch performances ever to keep Milwaukee alive. And then came the NBA Finals. The Bucks faced the red-hot Phoenix Suns, led by Chris Paul, Devin Booker, and DeAndre Ayton. The Suns stormed to a 2-0 lead, and once again, critics wrote Giannis off. But then, the freak switch flipped. Over the next 4 games, Giannis obliterated Phoenix. Game 3, 41 points, 13 rebounds, 6 assists. Game 4, 26 points, 14 rebounds, 8 assists, including one of the greatest blocks in finals history on Ayton. Game 5, 32 points, 9 rebounds, 6 assists, including the now iconic alley-oop from Jrue Holiday. Game 6, 50 points, 14 rebounds, 5 blocks. Yes, 50 points in a close-out NBA Finals game. The last person to do that? Bob Pettit in 1958. That's how rare this moment was. Giannis shot 16 for 25 from the field and 17 for 19 from the free throw line, a near-perfect performance in the biggest game of his life. With that performance, Giannis joined a club so exclusive it only has one member: NBA MVP, Defensive Player of the Year, Finals MVP, all with the same team. Before age 27, the only other players with that resume: Michael Jordan and Hakeem Olajuwon. And Giannis did it all without a super team, without leaving Milwaukee, and without chasing headlines. "I could have gone to a super team, but I did it the hard way." That quote from Giannis after winning the championship wasn't just a flex. It was a mission statement. In an era defined by player movement, alliances, and shortcuts, Giannis stayed put. He made Milwaukee a champion. He gave a small-market franchise its first title in 50 years. And he did it by being the most dominant player on earth. For most players, winning a title, a Finals MVP, and 2 regular season MVPs would be enough. They'd cruise into the later stages of their career, cash the checks, and coast on legacy. But not Giannis. "I'm not done. I want more. I want to keep getting better. I want to be obsessed with greatness." Giannis Antetokounmpo. Since hoisting the Larry O'Brien Trophy in 2021, Giannis hasn't just maintained his dominance. He's elevated it. While injuries and team changes have affected contenders across the league, Giannis has remained a constant force, averaging 30-plus points per game for multiple seasons, remaining top 5 in rebounds and blocks, continuing to improve his playmaking, hitting new career highs in assists, leading the Bucks to multiple 50-plus win seasons despite tough Eastern Conference competition. He's no longer just a paint bully. He's become a smarter player, a more patient leader, and while his jumper is still a work in progress, his footwork, timing, and post-up game have all evolved. He's a player who can initiate the offense, anchor the defense, and take over in the final minutes, all in one game. What sets Giannis apart is more than just his physique or stats. It's his mentality. He doesn't care about social media. He doesn't recruit stars behind closed doors. He doesn't demand trades or cry for MVP votes. He just works. He calls himself a student of the game. He still watches film of Tim Duncan, Hakeem Olajuwon, Kevin Garnett, legends who earned greatness with footwork, humility, and killer instinct. Giannis is building a legacy the old-school way, earning it night by night. In 2023 and again in 2024, rumors swirled. Should Giannis leave Milwaukee? Should he team up with Luka, Steph, or Tatum? And yet, he stayed. He signed a new extension with the Bucks in late 2024, reaffirming his commitment to the franchise and city that took a chance on him. Why? Because loyalty matters. This is my home. I want to bring more championships here. In a league where players jump ship for easier paths, Giannis's loyalty is revolutionary. Now entering the 2025 season, Giannis is still in his physical prime at just 30 years old. He's got the hardware, he's got the respect, but what he really wants is more rings. Milwaukee has retooled the roster around him with shooters and younger defenders. He's taken younger stars like Marjon Beauchamp and AJ Green under his wing. He's become a leader, not just a star. And the hunger? Still there. Bigger than ever. Don't be surprised if Giannis isn't finished adding to his legacy. He might just be getting started. He's still only in his late 20s. He's still adding moves, still evolving, still learning, still obsessed with getting better. He could have left Milwaukee, could have joined a super team, but he stayed, and he won. The hard way, the real way. Giannis Antetokounmpo isn't just a superstar. He's a blueprint for work ethic, for loyalty, for greatness. So what do you think? Is Giannis already an all-time great? Or is his true peak still ahead? Buy the hoop. Drop your thoughts in the comments and don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell so you don't miss what's next.